You're listening to A Radio. This intro's a little different because I'm going to play for you a clip from Ted Cruz on the Hannity Show on Fox. Please note the date, March 26, 2019, and please note the end comment.
Well, let me say, first of all, this weekend was a very good weekend for the president, but even more fundamentally, it was a very good weekend for the country. We've had now 2 years of this special prosecutor investigation, and during the entire time, virtually every Democrat and all the media has been breathlessly covering every minute of it, insisting collusion, 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 collusion. Well, we now have the report from the special counsel. The special counsel concluded there was no evidence, zero evidence of collusion. That's a big deal. Not only that, but we also now know that both the Attorney General, Bill Barr, and the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, concluded that none of the evidence supports charges of obstruction of justice, which means everything the Democrats and media have been talking about for 2 years was lacking in a factual basis. And the entire media has egg on their face. And what are they doing now? They're not apologizing. They're not backtracking. They're not saying, gosh, our facts were wrong. Instead, they're attacking. We're seeing every Democrat pivot to say, oh, no, never mind about conclusion. Never mind about crimes or evidence. And mark my word, Sean, the House Democrats are going to impeach the president anyway, not because of any evidence, not because of any crimes, but because of the fact that he's Donald Trump and they hate Donald Trump. And it's showing just how extreme they are.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is the Morning Moment. We're on weekdays, 11:45 Eastern. Follow us on Spreaker.com and click on the like button. Now this piece is a piece I wanted to do closer to when it happened. However, the news organisation involved, responsible for the interview, clearly had other ideas. It's from Fox and Friends, November 19, 2019. It's an interview with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. What I like most about the president is that he's blunt. He doesn't use 461 words when 2 will do just fine. Another example of this is this lady, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. If you want the story as the mainstream media tells you, you'll have to wade through not only the sensationalism, but the fake news as well. With Sarah Sanders, however, you get the facts. Bang! Right in your face. After all, isn't that what we really want? Here's that piece. Links on my site.
Let's bring in Sarah Sanders, Fox News contributor, former White House press secretary. She joins us from Little Rock, Arkansas. Sarah, good morning to you.
Good morning. Great to be with you guys.
It'll be interesting. You know, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, who Griff was just describing, is going to be one of the Democrats' star witnesses. This is the guy who we heard from behind closed doors that apparently Adam Schiff said, no, don't answer the Republicans' questions, Mr. Vindman, because apparently they were asking whether or not he was the source for the whistleblower, and he is expected to say he does not know the identity of the whistleblower, so take that as you will. But it will be interesting to see whether or not the Republicans go back to that line of questioning on TV today.
I think it's very possible and certainly likely that they'll ask that. But I think at the end of the day, none of this matters because it's a huge waste of time. The president has already released the transcripts of the calls that he's had, not just one transcript, but 2. And all of America can read for themselves that there was no wrongdoing. There was nothing that took place on these calls that has caused for all of the charade that we're going through.
But it's still happening, and you're addressing not Republicans, but moderates and independents with this election coming up. And let me ask you, Sarah, Steve Bannon said a couple of days ago that he knows who the whistleblower is, and he recommended him be removed. Do you think you know? And if in a situation like that, did you get a sense when someone was not on board with the Trump team?
There were certainly moments, I think, of people that you didn't feel like were there for the country's best interests and that maybe weren't there to implement the president's agenda. Let's not forget the only people elected to anything were Donald Trump and Mike Pence. The rest of the people that work at the White House serve at the pleasure of the president, and they're there to help implement his agenda, his policy. If they're not on board with that, they shouldn't be there. And I think that anybody that felt like they didn't agree with this president, they should make the decision to leave and go find a job doing something else. I don't think it matters who the whistleblower is. I think we know that the person was motivated politically. They certainly sound like they coordinated with Adam Schiff, and I think that tells us everything we need to know about what a sham this entire process is. The big contrast here is that the president is continuing to actually focus on getting things done while the Democrats spend all of their time wasting America's time on this ridiculous impeachment scandal. The big questions I'd love to see asked is, Nancy Pelosi, are you going to bring USMCA to the floor? Why is no one in the media asking questions that actually will matter and have real impact? In a few weeks, I think this entire impeachment sham are going to go away. No one is paying attention to it now. Certainly no one's going to care about it in a couple weeks, but they do care about what is getting done in Congress. And so far, the Democrats are making sure that's very little. And I think it's time for them to quit trying to destroy the president and actually get something done. We have a few days left for USMCA to get finished. And I think Nancy Pelosi needs to focus on helping American jobs and American workers and bring that to the floor, because it's a great trade deal and it's something that needs to happen.
Yeah, that's the message the president keeps saying at all of these rallies, that they're doing nothing. Nancy Pelosi sent a letter to her Democratic colleagues basically saying that the president is abusing his power for his own best interest. And let me read you a clip of that letter. It says, the facts are uncontested that the president abused his power for his own personal political benefit at the expense of our national security interests. The weak response to these hearings has been, let the election decide. That dangerous position only adds to the urgency of our action because the president is jeopardizing the integrity of the 2020 elections. Do you agree with that?
Not at all. I think the only people that are jeopardizing the integrity of the elections are the people that refuse to accept the results. And that's been the Democrats. That's been the liberal media. They've hated this president since he first started running, and they are so focused on taking him down, and they are so angry that they got it wrong in 2016 that they refuse to let that stand. And they're, I think, hurting the 2020 election process, but hurting it for themselves, because I think that this whole sham process is doing nothing but helping propel the president. His favorability is high. His fundraising is breaking records day after day. The president's doing great. The country's doing better under this president, and people know that. And the Democrats have no policy, no winning message. The only thing they can do is spend their time attacking the president. If anybody's jeopardizing the election and the integrity of the process, it's the people that refuse to accept the results.
Well, and you know that this impeachment inquiry, which we continue to watch today, and our coverage is going to start in about 22 minutes, is a TV show. The Democrats are trying to persuade, persuadable people that the President of the United States did something wrong. But, Sarah, when you look at the statistics about the number of people who were watching, and apparently day 2 was less than day 1, 95% of the country didn't watch the coverage.
I was going to say, if this is a TV show, it should be canceled because no one cares. No one is paying attention because it is such a waste of time. And they know at the end of the day, this is going nowhere. So far, their big star witnesses didn't witness anything. Most of them have never even met the president. The idea that they somehow know the inner workings of what was taking place is absurd. I think, again, this whole thing is about the Democrats refusing to accept that the president won in 2016.
Right.
They said the economy would crash. It's booming. Every time they try to pin something on this president and make up some ridiculous scandal, we saw it in the 2 years wasted on Mueller, and we're watching it unfold again. At some point, they have to realize they've got to put forth some real solutions, some real policy, or the American people are just going to continue to tune them out.
Republicans are pouring $7 million into vulnerable Democrats into their congressional races to run ads about basically your point of view that is a waste of time. So we'll see how some of those lawmakers respond to that, if they're going to be vulnerable, if they're still going to acquiesce to Nancy Pelosi. Sarah, thanks so much.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Good you.
Now, didn't you learn a lot there? I like her because she tells it how it is, not how the mainstream media want you to think it is, which is, I think I've heard that somewhere before. If there's one person I could listen to all day, it has to be Rush. But this lady comes a very close second. Why can't we have people like that in this country, Canada? Well, I can tell you why. The answer is our press, our media, blocks and stops ordinary Canadians from getting up and speaking. Because there's a criteria in Canada, and it's very simple. I'll be pilloried for this, but it's a fact. You must be French first. That's a given. Then, of course, if you want to have any chance of succeeding, you have to be a liberal. It's important that you either come from the failed, corrupt province of Quebec, or you're very closely linked to it. And, of course, you must be, and it's vital, that you're bilingual. And it helps if you're a lawyer or have been one. So, for the majority of Canadians, that rules them out, doesn't it? Because the majority of Canadians don't come from the corrupt, bankrupt province of Quebec and don't speak French. And we don't want to speak French. And we're not bilingual, and we don't want to be bilingual. Anybody who would think, listening to the federal government of Canada, that everybody wants to speak French all the time. Newsflash, we don't. And we are not, and never have been, lawyers. Other than that, we are all perfect Canadians and perfect candidates to run in Canada. Can anyone see a pattern? Of course not. You can't possibly see a pattern. There's no pattern here. There's nothing to see here. Everything's fair and balanced and above board. There's no bias here in Canada, is there? You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab, Spotify, and email. We're on Spotify under the podcast section. Type in Canadian Politics with a twist and you'll find us. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass these links on to your friends. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all our morning moments at Spreaker.com/A-Radio. EHRADIO, A-Radio. And please click on the like button. Join us Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 11:45 Eastern, and tell your friends and pass the word. We only tell the truth, not what the mainstream media want you to know.